What is up, YouTube? This is Badass Mode Depression, and welcome to my first Minecraft video. I am relatively new to Minecraft. I've only had it about 3 months, I think. Somewhere around 3 months, 2 to 3 months. And I've just been kind of playing around in creative a little bit. I started my first survival world, and I've been working in that, and this is my first villager breeder design for that world. Obviously, I'm in creative right now in a super flat world. Just all quartzed out for as far as the eye can see. Now, just a heads up, I know that the aquatic update has been released for the PC. It has been a few months, I believe, since that has happened, but I am not sure that I'm fairly certain that the aquatic update hasn't actually been released for the PS4. That being said, this should work on PC and PS4, as far as I'm aware. If it does not, I'm sorry for misleading you. Now, these are not supposed to be here. This is my villager breeder, my first design. Now, I will try to find the appropriate names and put them in the link below. Ignore this. This is because I was testing something earlier and he fell out and I forgot to kill him. It's not that broken. Don't worry about it. I will show you everything in detail. Now, I will try to find the names. This is not entirely my own idea. The railing system, that was somebody else's idea. This little drop pod plus the railing system, I will try and find his name. I swear to you, I will try. If I cannot find the video, I apologize, but I will try and put a link in the description along with the actual YouTuber's name. I do not want to take credit for that. The railing system was not my design. Let's see. I mean, I'd say this isn't my design, but it's not like it was particularly complicated. Also, I broke this earlier, so... Anyway, let's fix my divots. Should always fix your divots. Now, as you can see, this has 5 doors. 5 doors. That's 10 doors per side, plus the other 3 sides, so that's 40 doors immediately, which have been validated. I'm pretty sure that the transparent blocks don't actually validate, but the polished diorite does. We also have these 8 doors up here, which should be validated by this block right here. Now, validation isn't so much my concern, but for the more experienced Minecraft players who are watching this video right now, one, thank you for the support. Thank you for watching a newbie in his actual video. However, I want to, if anybody could tell me for certain whether or not these villagers can actually register these doors, or whether they're just kind of redundant and I can get rid of them altogether, and it would make no difference. Oh, baby time. No. He's not in the mood. Sorry, man. Sorry, father. Now, this is a fully self-sufficient farm. 40 doors plus these 8, that's 48 doors. 3 doors per villager would make 18, or, sorry, 13, no, 16 villagers. Can't do math, been a long day. Now, I have just gotten back from work. I am kind of groggy. I apologize if that messes up the video more than it was intended to. Now, as you can see, this farm produces carrots. I chose carrots over potatoes simply because they do produce, in my experience, ooh, busy and freaky. We're gonna have a demonstration, partial demonstration, because I'm inside. Now, I did choose carrots over potatoes because, in my experience, carrots produce slightly more, they have a slightly higher yield per individual crop. And also, by the way, the amount of glass that I used is excessive. I did it only for the purposes of actually being able to see the workings of this. This was my first time building it. Second time building it. Anyway, this is a replica, which is ever so slightly different, only in the height of this contraption right here. The rest of it works, generally speaking, the same. The circuitry is different as well, but it performs all of the same functions. The only difference is the height of the blocks, which is incredibly important. I will get to that in a minute. Now, back to wherever I was. They have not produced a child yet. As I was saying, the carrots do produce slightly more. This is entirely self-sufficient. I do have one farmer. I did originally have two farmers, but they were more interested in crops than hanky-panky. So I chose to introduce two non-farmer NPCs, two non-farmer villagers. Specifically, there are three of them for a reason. The farmer tends to focus, again, more on farming than the actual hanky-panky, but he does breed, just in my experience, a little bit less often because he's more concerned with stashing crops to plant them instead of using them for breeding purposes, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, I am new. Now, you do not want to exceed three. Obviously, you need two villagers minimum in here, and obviously one of them at least has to be a farmer. That was really dumb. How did I get in here? Okay. Now, obviously there needs to be at least two, but the reason why I would say not to exceed three is because if you have 4 or more villagers, you can have 2 baby villagers spawn at once, which has the potential, although I have made contingencies to prevent this from happening in most cases. I'm not entirely sure. If you do replicate this build and you do come across any issues, please notify me. I am trying to make it totally automated so that it does not have to be you do not have to AFK in front of it, assuming it is in your spawn chunk, but you could AFK if it is not in a spawn chunk, to my understanding, or you could force it using a nether portal to continually load. But the 3 villagers will continue automatically. The one will farm, hand out the produce to the other 2, which will trigger the breeding once they reach, I think it's 12 carrots per villager. Now, again, it is really important that you have only 3, no more than 3. 2 would also be fine. It just speeds up the breeding a little to have a third non-farmer. 2 non-farmers. Now, as you can see, if I come in here, only this little shelf obviously assumes that, well, not assumes, assures that only the baby villagers can exit here, which is a potential problem. If you do replicate this build and you do run into this problem, please let me know. I am trying to find a way to fix it. However, if some reason this has not happened to me yet, a baby villager does grow up inside of the Thunderdome, you are going to want to come in through one of these doors, remove a block at your convenience, not one of the corner blocks because I did double up on those. Now, you'll just have to replace a block, remove a block, enter, kill the 4th villager or any extra villagers other than the 3. You need 1 farmer to remain and then 2 excess villagers. It doesn't matter what they are, just I would recommend that you only have 1 farmer. Now, after I've done stressing that enough, obviously, if the baby grows up inside, you will have to kill it, or else it will have the potential to spawn more than 1 baby villager. But they will run towards the outside eventually. When they do run towards the outside, their speedy little cells will get launched towards this outside wall, where they will fall down into the water and obviously be dragged by the currents. Now, I just have 1 water block. Is it a water block? I have 1 water source placed in each of the corners, which is enough to reach the center. I believe the dimensions of this build on the outside of the largest part are 13 by 13, which would mean this would be 12 by 12 in here, I believe. Now, as for the trapdoors, to prevent the water from overflowing at the point where they drop through, obviously, trapdoor. Now, you want the trapdoor to be on the inside, because as I said before, baby villagers are very fast. They will run out, and because there is, as I will show you really quickly, over here, I believe I already built one, so I don't have to do it again. Like, it wouldn't have taken 4 seconds to build this, but the point is, if I am walking, I am now walking, and I were to sprint off this ledge, you'll see there is an arc to my drop. I am not directly underneath the point where I fell off. I fell forward, and then eventually, just like in real life, actually not like in real life, you will have your drop stunted, or your vertical distance, or the horizontal distance that you cover will not be significant. Over a long distance it can be. Now, there is a reason why that detail is important, which is the reason why this model will not function properly because of the height of this chamber right here. Now, it is important, again, that the trapdoors be on the inside, just so that the little baby villagers do not get caught. They will run. The arc of their fall will assure that they will hit the back wall and fall in. Unless for some reason they get here and then turn around and slip off the edge, then they'll be on the inside. Now, they should appear on the outside wall, which will let them slide in past the trapdoor. They can get caught on this trapdoor. It is imperative that it is on the inside and that the door is facing down. So it must be on the wall attached to the farm, not the outside wall. Now, if you just, I don't know, really feel the desire to put it here, it can work. It will not work as often. Villagers can get caught on these. Now, my recommendation in that case would be probably to create a clock which acts on a relatively large delay that would just toggle these doors to flap open and closed every now and then. This will, generally speaking, either pick up the villager really quick and then drop them, or will remove the obstruction so that they can move past it or to a different space. Like, they're trapped on this wall, they might try to move over a little bit, then the door will collapse, they'll fall through. So if you want, and you're really stubborn and you just don't want to put it there, there is a way for you, I suppose. It's just way more extra work. And personally, I have not experienced, I don't have a lot of experience with clocks. I can make them, I haven't gotten around to making them like actual intricate parts of my build. Now, when the baby villager falls into this hole, the water will push them. They will fall in here, into this chamber, which will bring them all to like a central collection unit, so to speak, automatically. Now the dimensions of this room, again, I believe are 13 by 13. This is one of the open layers. Now, the water placements for this, as you can see, using my crosshair, do not place a block here. If you are to place your water sources and you choose to place one on this block and on this block, this phenomenon will occur where the water carries them all the way to the edge. But you will have one dead zone at this location. So when they drop down, they will remain in this location totally unaffected by the water until they decide to move just ever so slightly into the current, and then that will push them. To avoid that, what you want to do not place a water block in this corner. Instead, place it 1, 2 out from the corner. So no water block, water block. Only in this corner, symmetric. So this block, and the same for each of these 4 corners will give you just enough so that it comes all the way to the edge and pushes them through, and does not leave you with any dead zones that they can stand in without being pushed. Now, this central collection unit is where the magic happens. This is why I can call this an automated farm. Also, you can see above I have just water stored underneath of my dirt plot, so it's constantly hydrated. There's no problem there. If we come out here, again, ooh, baby villager, perfect. Hopefully he will run soon and I won't have to stand here like an idiot for 5 minutes. It does occasionally take some time. Most often they spawn and they will sprint straight out for me. Other times they deeply concern me the worst one that I've had, I've never had a villager fully grow before exiting. However, I have had the baby villager get stuck in the socialization dynamic with another villager for a long period of time. He just wouldn't leave, and it was really starting to worry me. The other instance is they can get stuck doing that. Exactly that. Thank you for that. That was very convenient. Especially with a farmer. The farmer will try to trade food to the villager, and it is occasionally they will try and bounce it back. If the food bounces off of the villager and the farmer picks it up before the baby villager does, they will keep trying to give the baby villager food, and he will stay here until he gets enough food for them to stop the dynamic. At least that is my current understanding of it. If you want to make corrections to that, please do in the comments below. Again, now this baby villager is being extremely annoying. He will not walk off the edge. Come on. Do math. Do it. Please. You gonna go? Oh, that is just deplorable. How you gonna do me like that, man? Just walk off. Come on. Oh, God. Stubborn one he is. Anyway, I'm sure that while I'm explaining this, he will probably drop down. If not, we're going to have a problem, and my video is going to be a little broken for the first time. I've never had one grow up in here. If it happens on video, I will be very depressed. Now, he will drop down in here. The water will carry him through the central chamber. Now, this is where the magic happens. Now, you can see that's the dead zone. This block right here, it's all made out of glass, so it is kind of hard to see, but you have the empty space, the space with the water. Oh, there he goes. Watch the magic. Oh, am I out of minecarts? Watch most of the magic because of my lack of foresight. Okay. So, that is... Actually, my contingency does take care of that. You see how he just walked out? That normally would not be able to happen, which I will explain in a second after I kill this massive embarrassment to this video. First Minecraft video is going well. Now, let's fix both of those blunders. The villager is dead, and now I have enough minecarts for the purposes of this video. Now you can see, obviously, these are getting drained from the chest because they are going into this dispenser, which that is a hopper, not a dispenser. It holds 9, so when you place 9 in here, it will immediately dispense them, drop them into the dispenser. Dispense them to the dispenser. Anyway, now you can see I have 9 in the dispenser. If I take more, obviously, you know how boxes work. Eventually, it fills up. Now, you can have up to 2 chests plus the 9. You can be creative and add more hoppers. It's up to you. I don't feel like that would be necessary just because, again, this does have, I believe, if the doors work properly, all of the doors work properly, and the villagers can actually register these doors. Please let me know if I have just redundant doors for these 8 of them. These ones should be fine. The transparent block does not validate these doors. The pure diorite, or the polished diorite, does validate these doors. This block should validate these 8 doors, but I am not entirely sure whether or not the villager actually recognizes these doors, if they can see them. If not, and I've just made a complete blunder, please correct me. I'm sure I've already said that before. But now, what will happen? The villager will drop down through this central shaft. There can only be 16 total, plus the 3 that are currently in the village acting as your breeders. So, again, you have enough minecarts. You have more than enough. You have enough for errors and everything. So, a villager will drop down. They will trigger this tripwire, which is hanging precariously. Ooh, I broke it. This is why you shouldn't use glass for things. It's hard to see. I will need to replace the string. If you ever do break the water or the water source falls through this block, the only things that will break are the lava. You will need to replace the lava because it will turn to obsidian because it is a standing block. Also, the string will break, but the rest of this tripwire will not break. So as you can see, I just broke the string. It does not get tripped. If you can't see the string, that's how you will know, because I'm an idiot and I made everything out of glass. Now it will work. Now, if you do have a minecart that spawns here because you're dumb and you tripped it, like I did, you need to replace that. Well, you need to remove the minecart because it can potentially clog up the system. Now, what will happen? They will fall down. They will trigger this tripwire here. This tripwire will send out a pulse. Now, this is a, thank you, Mumbo Jumbo, monostable circuit. I hope I did not just do that wrong. That would be very embarrassing, especially with a name drop. Now, this is a monostable circuit. It does have a toggle on and off. You can see currently by the glowstone that this lever is on. I turn it off, the circuit deactivates. This is why I'm calling it an automatic breeder. You don't have to mess with it. It has contingencies. But you can see when this is on, it sends power through this line right here. This is powered by the lever. This redstone travels over to this piston, which pushes this block in place. This block acts. Ooh, it worked when I wasn't paying attention. But you can see the villager, baby villager, made it over here. He is safe. It does work. When you put minecarts in the chest, like you're supposed to. Haha. Anyway, They will fall down here. Now this block pushes this block, well, the piston pushes this block into place. This block will then act, when it is in place, it will act as a, I call it a conduit, but now that there's actually, with the aquatic update, a block which is called a conduit, I guess I should probably refer to it as a conductor. Now, this repeater right here is very important. As you can see right now, I really hope I don't break this like an idiot again. If I trigger it, that circuit will activate as it is supposed to because of this repeater. If you are going to use a tripwire, like I did, if you're going to replicate this exactly, you need a repeater here on 1 tick. You do not want to set it past 1 tick. Leave it at its default position. The reason this repeater is here is, as you can see, if I were to replace it with redstone, you would assume it would work. And if this was a larger power source, it probably would. But since it only gets ticked on as long as the tripwire is constantly being activated. If I stand in it, it stays on. If I exit, it immediately turns off. The pulse is not long enough to actually charge this block. So this block will not work unless you place a repeater here. The repeater will extend the actual length of the charge. It will no longer be a 1 tick pulse. I believe it's a 1 tick pulse for tripwire. This is actually the first time that I've ever used a tripwire, and it worked out rather well. I initially used the stone pressure plate and an observer. Observing the stone pressure plate, the system was much more compact. However, when they fall into this chamber, they will not get a guarantee to actually activate. Well, they will not always hop inside the minecart. The villager, if you do not put this piston here and you do the original system like I had, is much simpler. They will drop down here and they will not always get pushed into the minecart, which is why this is a very overcomplicated system. Now, they will drop through. They will hit the tripwire. The tripwire will send a pulse through this repeater. This block will carry the charge to this. It will split here. The first thing that is going to happen is, without any repeaters, so there is no delay, this is as fast as it can happen, this repeater affects every part of the circuit. This is like the main power line. This block right here and this piston is what assumes that the main power line is going to be in place. Deactivate it, activate it. No power flowing through the entire system after this point. Power flowing to the entire system at this point. I'm sure that many of you are annoyed by this over explanation. Now, I've only been playing for 2 months, so bear with me. This will split, come down here without any tick delays past that 1 tick, which applies to everything. It will immediately power this dropper over here. The dropper will instantly, well, almost instantaneously drop a minecart onto this powered rail. It will not move until the cart is touched. So when the villager enters the cart and the piston touches the back end of the cart, it will launch the cart forward. Now, the next thing that will happen, first, the dropper, or a dispenser. You cannot use a dropper. The dispenser will dispense the minecart. That is the first thing that will happen. Secondly, as you can see, this splits 2 ways. This goes to the other 2 components. The second component, if you come down this way, again, you will see my redstone splits. If you go straight, this is not the initial pulse, which is only delayed by this repeater here. Otherwise, the same as the dispenser, it will travel without any delay into this piston, activate this piston immediately, which is very important. And then this split over here, traveling through the repeater, this repeater is set at, just to show you, the maximum tick delay. So set the repeater, tick it 3 times. That's a 4 tick delay. It will extend the pulse which is sent. So the initial pulse will get sent, the piston will extend. However, because of the timing of the pulse, the piston will extend and then retract very quickly. It will not be enough time for your villager to get booted out, so you will need to extend the pulse. How long you extend it, you'll have to play around with it. I just chose 4 because it is convenient and it's fairly nice timing. Now, as you can see, so the charge will carry through. The dispenser will dispense a minecart. The minecart will sit in place until it is touched. This block will be pushed underneath so that it obstructs the lava. It will give the villager a platform to land on. The timing of this is very important because I'm sure that, as many of you know by now, if a piston is in the process of moving a block from position A to position B, before it is in the time that it takes to move the block will not have a physical presence. So until your piston has completed its cycle to extend itself, the entire extension, which takes one tick, slightly over one tick, for the block to actually have to be a solid block again, to be considered a solid block. So the timing is very important, otherwise your villagers will just fall through the block and they will die. Now, you set it up the way I have with the same delays, it'll all work fine. The dispenser dispenses the cart. This block pushes itself in so that the villager has a platform to land on without dying. It will take a small amount of falling damage, but they will be fine. Then, thirdly, as you can see, this split path, we have a repeater at 3 ticks. So, repeater, 1, 2. Now, this will fire this piston, which will push the villager. It will force the villager. It does not leave an option. The villager will be forced into the minecart, and in addition, it will also touch the minecart, which will launch it. It will sit on the powered rail, again, until it is touched by the piston. Then it will launch. So what's going to happen? The minecart will pop out here, obviously, hit this powered rail, and launch. Now, you can connect the cart rail just in one path. However, you see I have it separated here because if a cart is actually able to back up, let's say that I have 3 villagers and a huge line and this is the end of the line, so now the cart's here. When a cart gets launched, it will hit this cart, it will bounce back. If it bounces back far enough to hit this powered rail, it will launch itself back in past the dispenser into this piston. Now this is where my contingencies come into place. The reason that I don't have a block permanently placed here is for 2 purposes. The first of which is so that when this villager is launched out, if they are launched back, or in the case that 2 villagers accidentally spawn because of the error up above, where 4 villagers or more have spawned because one of the babies has grown to a full adult within the confines of the farm, if that can possibly generate 2 baby villagers, which will clog this tunnel, only 1 can make it into the minecart. Then once the first one is launched by the piston, the second one, this should remove itself. And the second villager may fall into the lava and die. I say may because the piston, depending on the timing of the second villager and where he is standing, could get pushed out. Now, again, the reason why this block is retracted in its default position and only activate it, again, if the villager makes it onto this minecart rail without a minecart as an extra villager that has not been accounted for in the automated process, they can walk out. Which is why I intend to fill both sides with lava so that if they walk off the trail, they will die. Or maybe if they get hit by a minecart. I haven't actually checked that yet. Now, if the minecart gets launched backwards, this will default to the open position. The minecart will fall into the lava, the villager will burn and die. Obviously this is too deep so that the villager can't climb out, even if they're an adult. So, the villager will die. Thirdly, the third reason why this is default open. When it is default open, if I decide to turn this monostable circuit off, nothing receives power other than the tripwire. The tripwire sends out a power source which is not... I believe it actually just worked. I think... No, that was him breaking a crop. Now, you can see when I activate it, power is sent by the tripwire, but there's no power to the rest of the system. So, when you deactivate the circuit, villagers can still breed. The farmers will still farm. The villagers will still produce baby villagers. The baby villagers will still get caught in this trap. They will get pushed down through this hole. They will activate the tripwire, and nothing will happen. Now the reason this is a default position, because when it is off, your farm will continue to function. It will be fully operational, it will be fully automated. As long as it's in a spawn chunk, it'll continue. Even if you're not there, you can be in a different chunk and it'll still continue its process. If you're not in a spawn chunk, the obvious solution to that is to have another portal passing items between to keep loading the area. Just as you do, I think they do it with like the larger iron farms to keep the villages from collecting themselves back into one village, so that you can maintain multiple villages in the same location, or at least like one tile apart, without them overlapping and combining. Now, again, everything will produce normally. Everything will continue. Your villagers, your baby villagers will just pop out in this hole, and they'll fall in the lava, and they'll die, and then the count will be reset, and they'll just continue producing, continue farming, non-stop process, but you won't have an overflow of villagers, you won't have entity cramming, as I understand it, or anything. This is why I'm able to call it fully automated. If you find any flaw in that logic, please let me know. I like not to seem like an idiot in my first YouTube video. Now, as you can see, this is off. Fully automated. Beautiful thing. Now, if I turn it back on, everything works. Now, the reason why all three of these components are switched off, you won't lose mine carts. Your dispenser will not dispense your mine carts, even though your baby villages are triggering it, so you will not have to refill these unless you want the villagers to be carried out, unless you want the circuit to be activated. Secondly, again, no cramming, they just die. Resets the count, everything proceeds as normal. Now, this issue, the reason why they drop off, so that this does not happen. The carts will not bounce back. Again, I do have the contingencies just in case the carts do bounce back, that the villagers will burn to death. If they don't, this will not allow them. The cart will just fall off, and it will not be able to bounce back. It'll hit this wall. Now, again, you can stack the carts, I believe. So if I fill the rest of this with carts and it oh no, don't do that. And it fills up the system, but then I put this cart here, it will get stuck. Oh, it doesn't do that anymore. At some point, if you put enough carts in here, I've had one that'll get stuck on the end of the track or will sit on top of an adult villager's head once they finally grow up. And it will cause a backup. So I actually recommend digging deeper. I only did this for demonstration purposes. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Not too much other than to watch the magic. Oh, I'm lucky too. There's a baby villager and everything. Is this the birth process where they're standing inside the body? Hopefully this one will run off the edge quickly and I won't have to sit here like an idiot for the next 5 minutes. And hopefully this won't be the first villager that I've had to actually grow up inside of my farm and break it on my first YouTube video. Please work. Yeah, you. Yeah, no, not you, you. Yeah, thank you. Go. No, don't stop nodding. We already got the nodding part. Leave. So this is when they get caught into that side of the socialization and the food passing, the food distribution dynamics. He's just going to stand there for a bit, which is what I was hoping wasn't going to happen. Oh, there he goes. No, oh, you tease. Come on. I created you. Well, I propagated you. I created them, and they created you, so indirectly. There you go. So, as you can see, I should have put glass on the upper level. He will fall down. He will go in. Everything. He will die because I turned the circuit off and left it off. So anyway, yeah, that'll just keep happening. They'll fall in and they'll die. Now, the two errors that I want to talk about with that, the reason why initially I couldn't call this a automated farm was because the villagers, now, the arc of the fall is extremely important because if they fall in here, I initially, in my original design, if you can see it over here, this was the initial design minus the redstone circuitry. This is not my initial redstone circuitry, but the initial design of the tunnel itself. It is only, what's that though? It is only too high. So drop down 1, drop down 2, and then you hit your trigger. Oh. Actually, this isn't my old design. This is a newer version. Anyway, originally, you would drop down 2, and then your tripwire would be here on top of it. So my tripwire would actually be 1 block above where it is currently located. Now, originally, that was working perfectly fine, or so I thought, until I realized that a baby villager If they drop, because of the arc of their fall, when they're going through this system, it will push them over occasionally, just ever so slightly enough that they can land on top of this block, and when they walk around, they will consistently trigger your dispenser. The blocks and the pistons don't matter as much, however, they will use up all of your minecarts. I don't currently have a dispenser set up here for that specific reason. It was extremely frustrating to try and figure that out. But you can see, if I put a dispenser here, not a dropper, and you put minecarts in the system. Oh, it's not powered is why. Whatever. Point is, it will continually, if a villager does make his way up here, he will just sit here and activate this over and over again. It will drop all of your minecarts. It is a huge thing that you want to avoid. Now, the reason why I said 3 blocks for this drop on this tile is very important. If you do 3 blocks, in my experience, 1, the 3 blocks until the tripwire gives it enough time so that its arc is no longer forward. It does not have enough arc so that it can perfectly land in this little square. It only has enough arc so that it hits the wall and then drops straight down. I have not, since I've redesigned this for the 3 block drop, I have yet to have a villager fall in here. With the 2 blocks, it was actually happening pretty consistently towards the latter end of my build. It happened 4 or 5 times in a row where villagers would get caught, and then eventually, because the villager would walk off, it would end up clogging the system and it would ruin everything. With this, you don't have to worry about the arc of their fall. Now, the other reason why the bottom piston is another 3 block drop, so you have 1, 2, 3 before you land on the platform, is because of the timing of the circuit. The original design of the circuit required a really specific timing, which required 3 blocks so that the piston could be pushed in on a delay. Now, well, without a delay, and then have the repeater. If I am to activate this now, you will see that it can catch me. I still haven't turned this back on. So you will see after I mess it up. It has just enough time to catch me, push the minecart out of the way, and then pushes the piston back in. So that block is removed, so that any remaining villagers that got caught in here and didn't make it into the minecart will hopefully fall into the lava. That is my first Minecraft build in a nutshell. Thanks for watching.